and it's an Issues in Education Roundtable. As always, having a discussion about education and how it affects the kids and really how it affects everybody. And right now we're going to get into STEM and technology. In our panel for this segment, Dr. Jim Wipke, who is the superintendent at Fox, Dr. Tom Muzzey, superintendent, Orchard Farm, Dr. Mary Hendricks-Harris, superintendent, Francis Howell, and Rene Cope, board vice president, Francis Howell. And let's start, we'll start with you, Jim, and STEM. Some parents probably see it on the curriculum. So what is STEM, and when did that become a thing? Is it the last 5 years where it's become huge and a bigger part of the curriculum?
Yeah, absolutely. It's, your science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And so it's the initiative that I would say anywhere from 5 to 10 years has really been kicking in, more than probably just 5 years. But it's a way to get our kids what I would say is real life world experiences and placing an emphasis on our science, technology, engineering, and then when we say STEAM, we're saying arts as well and mathematics.
Is it hard to find the teachers? This is sort of a newer curriculum, and I know at some schools they'll find them from the workplace and say they have the real world hands-on to do this. Is that something you guys have experienced where you've got to go out and find STEM instructors?
We've been very fortunate at Orchard Farm. We're able to hire people that are really passionate about the field, about whatever course they're teaching. But we do have, for example, at our high school, we have in one of our chemistry teachers, she was actually a former chemist that worked outside in the field, came into education. She's very passionate about it, and came to me and said, I want to teach AP chemistry. And it was a tremendous amount of undertaking and work. But
advanced placement?
Yes,
right.
And she has the passion and the desire to do that, and our numbers are just exploding with kids that want to work with her.
And it seems the kids now, and I don't know if you've seen this at Francis Howell, but they're so into computers and they're a little more technologically savvy than they have been in the past. Are we seeing that too? Are the kids gravitating towards STEM?
They are. They like the application part of our new curriculum. So because science, technology, engineering, and math are perceived to be so difficult, one of the things that they like about the new curriculums is that there is a lot of application. So many of us offer Project Lead the Way courses, which have a lot of hands-on activities. Our biomedical engineering course starts on the first day with a case study, Anna Garcia in the middle of a classroom where the kids are studying how she died and looking at different aspects of a project throughout the course of the career. And so they are gravitating toward those classes. All of our enrollments in these classes are skyrocketing year after year.
Is it typically a required curriculum, or is it something they can choose, or has it now become a staple?
We actually try to push every freshman into one of the STEM-related fields of Project Lead the Way, either engineering, biomedical, or computer science. We want them to try at least one of those areas as a freshman. If maybe they tried computer science, they didn't love it, then as sophomores we say, why don't you try biomedical or another field? And we've had about 40% of our kids now participating of the high school population in one of those programs.
And as somebody with the board, too, I'm wondering, is it become something more of a priority, too, when you guys meet and talk about the future and how things are changing in the schools?
Absolutely. So in the business industry, we're finding out that there's more and more a need for these skills across our communities. So right now we have a supply and demand issue. So we don't have enough students graduating with those technical skills that our corporations and businesses across the community really need. So as a board, we're trying to integrate our business community needs with what our students are graduating with, what skills they have. And so it's a strong priority for us to take a look and make sure we're funding those appropriately, as you mentioned, to make sure that we have the pipeline of educators that are prepared to teach those classes, and then, as Tom said, getting our students involved and making sure they're not only that they know about the classes to begin with and getting them excited about enrolling in them.
Is funding, we always talk funding, whenever our roundtable we get back to money, but in terms of STEM, it's not just a book you hand out or a pamphlet you hand out. Is that something that's changed too, where you've got to have the right tools in place?
Well, you're definitely having to organize your curriculum budget around thinking about STEM and thinking about STEM courses that you want to integrate within your curriculum across the board. When we mentioned Project Lead the Way, there should be a huge initiative within the curriculum to start to push Project Leadaway into our middle schools so that they can first get exposure, because when you talk about enrollment, and as Tom said, he tries to have his students pushed into a STEM type of initiative or class, having it at a middle school, they get exposed to that, and the awareness begins to grow. Whether you do it through your science or a particular class or math class, or whether you offer up some STEM classes through electives, which has been our experience, in particular at one of our middle schools in Ridgewood, when we've had a lot of success with the actual STEM course that was offered as an elective that hit the gamut. And the key piece about that course that we offered to our kids was it's also about service and giving to others through our STEM initiative at Ridgewood Middle School.
There are topics we know in education that are, controversial, or some parents don't want to see. I don't see any negative here. Is there anybody that's against these kids getting these skill set? I mean, if you're a parent, you want your son or daughter to walk out of that school with every potential. Is there any downside? Is there any pushback at all to the STEM?
I think we will occasionally hear about not enough focus on fine arts and things like that, and we have all found ways to incorporate those things into science, technology, engineering, and math, and not lose a focus on those other important areas. And so I think that is some pushback we get. Sometimes there's a belief that we're focusing so much on STEM that we're not focusing on the core areas, and that is not true either. We have to focus on those core areas, reading and writing, in order to have our kids college and career ready for these careers in science, technology, engineering, and math. So that would be the only pushback, and I think with just a little additional information, people come to understand that it's not an either or, it's an and.
Has to be hard on the parents, too, who usually they bring home, I read that book when I was in it. Now it's like, I didn't do any of this. Parents got to stay up to speed. Not that they're doing the kids' homework, but they may be learning along with the kids, too.
Sure.
And I would think when we talk about, having the right teachers, everything in place, are the kids, we mentioned, kind of gravitating to this? Is this something is it an easy sell?
When we look at our summer camp, we do a STEM summer camp, we had a 72% increase in enrollment just last year. So we started 5 years ago with 100 kids, and we were over 1,000 last summer. So if you think of kids wanting to do things in their summer and they're willing to come to a STEM camp on a week off, it definitely demonstrates that there is an interest. And again, I think we're seeing it in all districts across the board that our students just are interested in. Mostly it is because of the application piece.
And I think part of it goes back to there's a preconceived idea that the coursework is hard. Oh, STEM classes, that's difficult, that's too hard for me. And it's removing some of that stigma around that coursework, which allows other students to participate. And looking at increasing the diversity, so getting more women involved in STEM initiatives as well. So it's looking at the curriculum and making sure that it's attractive to a diverse population that may not have considered it in the past.
So explain to some of our listeners, maybe their grandparents and their grandkids are in school and they're like, STEM, I keep hearing STEM. Give us an idea, like in the classroom, what would some of those courses look and sound like?
I can probably start off. I started to mention one of the courses that was offered at Ridgewood. We actually had a teacher that came to his principal and said, hey, I've got an idea for a STEM class I'd like to do. And what he wanted to do is get his kids involved in working on projects for our special needs students. And they actually build and design. That's probably the better way to say it. They work with engineers to design furniture that helps support special needs kids, and they make it out of cardboard and put it together with layers of cardboard, glue, cut it out, design it, paint it, and then deliver it to the classrooms within our school district that need those types of services.
How cool is that?
That's
really cool.
It's very cool. They actually were recognized by Samsung. They went and did a presentation to Samsung in the state of New York and won a $150,000 grant to use it for technology back in their school. So that's one example, that was homegrown STEM initiative, if you will.
Well, we talked to a lot of board members today, and Rene, I'm guessing you're in the same camp, that people get on the board and then they just they do it because they love it. Nobody's getting rich being on the board, but it's something that's just kind of a passion.
Yeah, absolutely. I will tell you it's the most difficult volunteer job I have ever done, but the passion is there. Just watching our students develop and grow, helping provide some of the strategy to take our community to the next level. I do international trade compliance as a paid job, since the volunteer job is at the board, but making sure that we're looking ahead to the global opportunities. And if we want to continue to be a leader in STEM across the United States and be a technology innovator, we have to focus on our STEM curriculum. So being able to have those conversations with the community and look to the rest of our board and our school district to implement that curriculum is very important to me.
Yeah, and I would think as superintendents, it's local because you want those kids to do well in your particular district, but when it is STEM, we start thinking about China and overseas, and it's sort of, is it an obligation to make sure we're competing on the global landscape? I mean, is that too heavy in phrasing?
No, I think that's a very good point. We talk with our kids about who they're going to be competing against when they move on to college, and they see the students from around the world that are in their classes. They come back and they tell us that it's very, very rigorous and very challenging because they're no longer competing with just kids from St. Charles County or St. Louis County. So that is a different way of thinking. And
in your administrative lives, too, it's shifted for you also, right, in terms of priorities?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And we talked about it earlier, but funding, it's shifted where we put our dollars. Our taxpayers, count on us to spend the money where we should, and helping kids prepare for their future. I think you can see from all of the panel, there's a huge value in hands-on, real-life, real-world experiences, and that's what STEM can offer.
And I'm wondering if there were kids who didn't fit necessarily the typical school model, that this opened some doors for them where they're like, yeah, I'm good with my hands. Absolutely. It's the modern version of shop.
I think we certainly have students who did not necessarily think that this was their area of expertise, who get, like Dr. Muzzey said, we encourage them to attempt a class, and once they get in that class, they realize this is my passion, this is my calling, this is what I'm good at. And then you have them hooked for the rest of their education, so they're engaged in their learning, they're attached to their high school, and they're excited about their careers moving forward. So it's a win-win. It's a win for our workforce in our area and globally, and it's a win for our students having highly paid jobs coming right out of college and sometimes right out of high school with the coding jobs that are out there right now.
And tell our audience about this conference, what the walkaway is, what you learn, and the benefit even just being here, meeting with some of the board folks. And what is that, as superintendents, I've always curious, what is that give and take with the board members? So the board members have to get elected, and then they pick the superintendents. What's the typical give and take?
Well, for us at Orchard Farm, it's about kind of developing that common vision about what we want the district to look like and what kind of kids that we hope that we can graduate as we move forward. And it's very different than it was 20 years ago. So when you have very progressive and forward-thinking people, it's almost unlimited what you can do working together with the supportive Board of Education.
And you guys are the Newtown area, right? And that's got to be growing like crazy, right?
Yes.
I mean, 10 years ago, there weren't all those kids living in Newtown.
That's correct. And the culture has changed a little bit due to the number of people that have moved in. The expectations are different, and we have to make sure that we're able to be nimble enough and kind of quicken our feet to adapt to those needs and wants of our patrons.
And how about Francis Howell? Your challenges?
Well, I think a conference like this gives us an opportunity to learn together and to have some time outside of a board meeting where we can have some collaborative conversations about where we want to go as a district. I would say, you asked about our challenge. Our most recent challenge really is about funding. So we are going out for a tax levy in November, and that's been our biggest point of focus and energy in the past few months as we move forward and to that election.
And Jim, for you and the conference here, is a lot of listening? I mean, you get to talk a little, but I imagine a lot of listening too.
Yeah, well, I think it serves two fronts. One, it serves the front of growing and learning as educators and as board members, and there's so many different opportunities to do that with the breakout sessions. You really are picking from just a plethora of choices that you can go to, and then also as a board member, board members can see different sessions that they feel like they need to learn and grow about, and they can bring it back as a whole and talk about it when we get back to our school district and what we've learned and grown. So you have definitely that, and then you have the camaraderie and an opportunity to build tighter relationships with your board. And as Dr. Muzzey said, it is about having a common vision and common goal. And being a board member works on two fronts. The first front, you represent, obviously, the patrons that put you in that seat. But you also have to represent the school district and the vision and where we're going, and making sure that the patrons that elected you understand that. And so it's kind of a back and forth as a board member, and also a back and forth as a superintendent, making sure that we're all connected and going in the same direction.
Well, panel, thank you for stopping by here. And again, Ittner presenting this, Issues in Education, talking about STEM. And hopefully for those at home saying, what in the heck is STEM? You now understand science, technology, engineering, and math. And you can throw the A in there. If you see STEAM, okay, they're not learning how to dry clean, okay? That's arts is mixed in there. Dr. Jim Wipke, Dr. Tom Muzzey, Dr. Mary Hendricks-Harris, and also Rene Cope with us. Latest installment here.